Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Diving Into Why, a Joe Brennan podcast. I am Joe Brennan from the Joe Brennan YouTube channel, and I am joined today by my good friend and co-host, Tom. Say hello, Tom.
Hey, that's me. What's up?
Not much. What about you?
You should have said the ceiling. I think that would have hit more with the audience.
Yeah, that would have got people on our side a lot earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to try and fumble through a few different topics today. I guess you're kind of growing with us as an audience while we figure out how to do a podcast. We're going to be talking about Doctor Who, we're going to be talking about Marvel, we're going to be talking about Star Wars, and some other things. I understand that some people follow me just for one of those topics. There will be timecodes in the description so that you can skip me talking about Doctor Who if you don't care. We're actually going to be talking about Doctor Who first, so if that's all you're interested in, you can just go after that. I won't be too upset.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame them.
I mean, I wouldn't blame them if they turned off after the intro.
Oh, that actually, yeah. After that, yeah, that wouldn't be surprising to me.
But it's been nice to have you here for the first minute. It is going to go downhill from here. We've got a lot to get through because we're going to be talking about Star Wars Visions, and there's like 9 of them. So I guess it's worth jumping straight in, diving into why.
Into it, yes.
I don't think there's a way I can weave diving into why into the intro.
No, because you could say it at the beginning of like every topic. You should just shoehorn it in. That would be funnier.
Let's talk about Doctor Who.
Yes, let's do that.
Series 13 is on the horizon, we think, vaguely.
Well,
are you excited?
Yeah, I am pretty excited. Jodie's been pretty cool. She's had some really good episodes. She also had some really terrible ones. I don't think that's a hot take. But no, yeah, she's cool. I think they could do something really cool because Yaz, it's just Yaz, isn't it? And
it's not.
Doctor. Oh no, because it's John Bishop as well, isn't it? Damn it! Yeah, they had it. They had it really good because it was just going to be Yaz and the Doctor, which was going to be really cool because they have really good chemistry. But they're also throwing in John Bishop into it, which changes everything because it goes back to the group format that they had before that wasn't quite working. And I believe you made a little bit of a video about that.
A little bit of a video, yeah, that's what I would call it. Do you know the format of Series 13? Do you know how it differs? How much have you been following that?
I know literally nothing.
It is 6 episodes, which is very few for a Doctor Who series.
Oh, okay.
And according to Chris Chibnall, it is one big interconnected story.
Oh, that's right.
I'm very interested to see how it ends up. I hope it's not been mandated by the BBC as like a competitor to streaming binge-worthy TV.
It's kind of weird that they've only just decided to do it as a whole arc, and they've also thrown in a new character that they have to introduce, because usually they have those kinds of arcs where the characters get used to the Doctor, used to their new friends and all that.
I mean, I think it was a COVID necessity. I think they had to do fewer episodes because
yeah, that's true.
That's how things are at the moment, and I hope they can make the most of it with that. My concern is that it's like coming from more than just Chris Chibnall with an idea. Not that Chris Chibnall's ideas have proven to be great. Hello, it's Joe from the future. I don't have Tom with me anymore. I'm just having to re-record a new insert because a few hours after we recorded the podcast, everything we'd said about Series 13 became dated. Most of our discussion was based on the fact we didn't really know a huge amount, and that there was no release date, and that the Doctor Who social media accounts were undergoing this weird marketing stunt where they all go down. Now they've come back up with a rebrand. Series 13 is called Doctor Who Flux, and there's a new trailer announcing it with Jodie and the gang in the TARDIS, and she says that the Flux is coming, and it's bringing the Sontarans, the Ravagers, and the Weeping Angels, so that's all pretty exciting. It's a lot easier now for me to build an actual anticipation for the series, now that we know when it's coming on the 31st of October. There's not a huge amount for me to say anymore. We'll just have to wait for it to come out, and we'll talk about it in the next episode. I think the fact the series has a name is quite funny. It's very Trial of a Time Lord, and I'm not sure that's something that the BBC want to replicate. Definitely something that Chris Chibnall probably doesn't want to replicate. So let's skip ahead past the out-of-date stuff and get to me and Tom talking about Russell T Davies coming back. I think there was a lot of fun in Moffat's Who and Russell T Davies' Who, and I struggle to find the fun with Chris Chibnall's Who. And I think what I'm hoping for is that fun and that accessibility is brought back, and that Doctor Who is then elevated as a show back to probably not how it was in like 2008, because the show was absolutely huge then, and the world has changed a lot since then, and the way we watch TV and consume media has changed a lot. So it won't be rising to the top of every kind of toy shop and streaming service. But at the same time, I do think this will be a boost for the show, which is the reason that I'm happy. The reason that I'm a bit mixed on this is that it is a bit of a step backwards. In a show that's always been about moving forwards, they're now being like, oh, this thing that we're doing isn't working. And I agree that it's not working, but this thing that we're doing isn't working. Let's go back to something that did, rather than let's push forward to something that does.
That's true.
I do think Russell T Davies was never the best writer of his series.
Oh, interestingly, yeah. Funnily, Moffat commonly accepted to be the best new era of Who story, which is Blink, which was Stephen Moffat.
I would say the best story in the first series is the Empty Child, the Are You My Mummy?
That's
child.
right.
That's a Moffat story.
That was fantastic.
Girl in the Fireplace, Moffat story.
And everyone was really excited for him to take over the entire show, and then everyone, after a few seasons, sort of dipped out.
That's true. I mean, I love Moffat Who, and I think he's great, but I think he's great for Doctor Who fans rather than great for the casual audience.
Oh, yeah.
Russell T Davies episodes are fun, but they are rarely the best. I think he's only got about 2 or 3 great stories. His best is probably Midnight.
Midnight's fantastic.
Or Turn Left. That is where he's really at his best. But I think what he was best at as a showrunner was getting the people that could tell good stories, and also kind of overseeing this tonal consistency and this kind of shared fun across the era and across the characters. And I think that's what people remember him for more than his scripts, is the new Doctor Who that he established. I'm glad that we have someone running the show who will bring this level of relatability back and this fun.
Yeah.
And probably he's going to get in some really great people to write the scripts. However, I do worry that it will just kind of try and recreate, through him or through the BBC forcing him, just try and redo everything that we did before. So we'll get a very 10th Doctor-y Doctor.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, because it's like when whenever David Tennant gets a haircut, and everyone's like, oh, he's coming back to be Doctor Who. And he's not. But
he might be.
He might be this time.
I'm mixed, because I don't love the precedent that it sets. I worry that it will try too hard to recreate an era of television that can't exist anymore. But at the same time, I am very excited for it.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who haven't watched at least they definitely haven't seen the second series of Jodie's Doctor. So they stopped watching like halfway through the first, and they've been saying that they are extremely excited because Russell T Davies is coming back, and it's going to bring back all of what they loved about the show. And it's kind of a hard balance to realize, like, is what I liked about the show because it was really good and it really struck a chord with me, or is it because I was a child and I feel really good about it when I think about it those times?
I wasn't a child when I watched it, and I still think those series are really good. So I guess you got to give him credit. And I have faith in the man to bring something new to his new era. Like, I think he wouldn't have accepted the job if it was just a case of go back to how you wrote.
Recycling old ideas and doing the same stuff. Because, I mean, as a writer, you don't want to be touching on the same story beats again, because you've already done it.
Yeah.
And it's not an interesting way to tell a story if you're just redoing it over and over again.
He's starting with the 60th, which is
that's right.
strange. And it has put the show in a very strange position because, like we said, Jodie Whittaker will be leaving in 2022 in a special.
Yep.
And then, I mean, the way they announced it, and this was something I was trying to find out beforehand, and they've deleted the social media that actually did announce it. But I think they said he's coming back for the 60th and series beyond, which implies that the 60th comes first. Which is interesting. Because
does that mean Jodie is regenerating before the 60th?
She is set to regenerate in 2022.
Right.
And the 60th will be November 2023.
Oh,
And if the 60th is the first thing Russell T Davies does, he may introduce a Doctor in the anniversary special. And in that case, will it be a multi-Doctor special?
Well,
I can't imagine that it won't be. There has been a multi-Doctor special every 10 years since 1973.
Well, yeah, exactly. They've set a bit of a precedent for it.
I don't think he would miss the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a really weird thing because then does Jodie come back? I cannot imagine that working. You know, someone's first Doctor being a multi-Doctor story.
Yeah, it's really strange because it then doesn't become about that episode that every Doctor has where they're getting to grips with who they are, and it just becomes about, oh, and here's this guy that you loved from 50 years ago.
It would be interesting for a kind of midpoint regeneration. I'm not sure it would be the fun, like, anniversary special adventure that everyone would expect, but you could bring back all the Doctors for, like, a dream sequence.
Oh, right,
as
okay.
this Doctor is coming to terms with who they are.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-regeneration or it goes wrong or something.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
That would be quite
But
cool.
I think it would be very strange for the Doctor to regenerate and then the previous Doctor to come back one episode later. Not even like in a Matt Smith phone call way, but like just back.
Yeah.
And they're in a really weird position, I think. You have to hope that he's going to cast someone that he really believes in the role.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure any strong characterization can stand up against bringing David Tennant and Matt Smith and, you know, I guess Peter Capaldi will come back as well. To me, it would make sense for them to kind of get started on Series 14 as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Do a series in early 2023.
Yeah.
And then have the finale, well, not the finale, but the special after the first series. So this Doctor gets established enough after one series. Because you can probably do a special after one series. Like, you're at least somewhat established then. Although you may then get distracted. You can't really invest yourself in this new Doctor because David Tennant's coming back later on in the year.
Yeah.
I think the issue is everyone will watch when David Tennant comes back for a special.
Oh, 100%.
But that's not necessarily good for the show in the long term.
No, because everyone will come back and see, oh, it's David Tennant, let's watch this. And then he leaves, and then maybe they'll watch the first episode of the next series, and he's not there, and then they'll go, oh, well, never mind then.
It was nice to have that brief trip down memory lane.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's really all I have to say about Russell T Davies. I've been thinking on it for ages, because it's put the show in a very weird position.
Yeah.
It may be a short-term solution to a long-term problem as far as the show moving forward.
Yeah.
To then, I guess, I reckon what they want is for him to boost the show, bring it back to a respected status in the world, and then, I guess, move on, leave it in better hands. And he will have done his job after a few series. It would be nice for Russell T Davies to set up someone to kind of, you know, run them through the show running process as he's doing it and then leave it in their hands. Not so that everyone forever is, you know, emulating the RTD era, but just so someone's not thrown in at the deep end and ruin everything, like some people would say Chris Chibnall has done. I think that's all I have to say about Doctor Who.
I think that about wraps it up.
Should we talk about Marvel? Marvel's What If?
Marvel. We can talk about the Marvel.
I was very excited for Marvel's What If because, you know, I love that kind of hypothetical story. I love...
Oh, yeah.
You know, I love the Trickster in Doctor Who. I love the Star Wars Infinities comics.
Is the Star Wars Infinities comics the one where Yoda forces the Death Star onto a planet and blows it up?
He doesn't force it. He is in the Death Star driving it into the planet.
That's way better. That's 100 times better.
He mind tricks Tarkin and takes control and just gets everyone to like full power into Coruscant.
I was going to say, how does he reach the pedals? But yeah, that works too.
So yeah, I was really hyped for What If, and on the whole, I quite like it. I think I've become quite the Marvel fan over the last few years.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, you didn't start off being a huge MCU nerd, did you?
No, I mean, I jumped on that train quite late, like 2016. And that was kind of when I was catching up and maybe started going to the cinema to watch them.
Yeah.
But I guess it's really only been the last 2 years that I'm just like, oh, I'm actually a Marvel fan.
Yeah, the two most important years, I think, to be a Marvel fan.
One in which nothing happened. And now going forward, everything is happening. There's like 100 things every week. It's unrelenting. And I'm glad I hopped on the train late because some people are reporting on that superhero fatigue setting in. I'm still ready for anything because I've only been here for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So What If? How do you feel about it?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
A few of the episodes are a little bit more lacking. I think because they start off with, they have a concise story where, like, the first episode is Captain Carter, so it starts off as it's Peggy who gets the super soldier serum instead of Steve, and it just basically continues for the first Avenger until the movie ends.
I thought that was awful.
You thought that was awful?
I thought that was the worst possible way to start off a What If series, by essentially giving us something we'd already seen before, smushed into half an hour instead of 2 hours, and just with one character different, and nothing really changed. Like, Peggy didn't really come up against, like, I know she came up against a bit of sexism, but it was nothing that wasn't just a swapped out version of what Steve came up against. Like, she had to go behind their backs, not because she was a woman, but because Steve did as well.
Yeah, that's true.
They said it was because she's a woman, but we know that Steve had the exact same experience. It would
have been the same either way.
And I think that's, like, the least interesting thing you can do with a What If story, and it was the worst way to ease us into What If. And I know that maybe for some people it was quite an understandable and easy to swallow thing.
It's quite an easy way to ease you into what the rest of the show is going to do.
Yeah, but I also think it sells it short. Like, if I hadn't been a bigger fan and I hadn't known what was coming next, I easily could have given up after the first one, because it also it felt really rushed, because it was condensing a story that I'd already seen in 2 hours in 30 minutes, and I thought to myself, if these stories are 30 minutes, they are all just going to feel rushed. And then the next week, they did a completely original story in 30 minutes that felt like a movie. It did, fantastic.
It was great.
T'Challa as Star-Lord was just brilliant, and it was weird, and it was probably the best episode of the series.
Oh, okay.
And I'm surprised that they didn't use that more in the marketing.
Yeah.
Even as, like, a kind of cynical thing, as because it made a big splash as, you know, Chadwick Boseman's last major appearance as T'Challa.
Yeah.
And I think it's weird that Captain Carter was the face of What If, even though they had what I think is a much better episode with a much more interesting premise going forward.
Yeah,
and, you know, you had Thanos, you had...
It's also quite interesting because Peggy Carter is pretty much the exact same character that we know from the movies, but she's just got the suit and the shield now, and she has superpowers. But T'Challa is a completely different character than he is in the movies, because of course he was abducted by Yondu when he was younger, and he's been going around as Star-Lord for the past 20 years, and this T'Challa was able to make Thanos a goodie.
I love that. People got so angry about that.
People were mad. I loved it.
It's brilliant, because it's just like, it's fine. Like, this doesn't change anything. The Infinity Saga still exists in its entirety. You can't watch that and be grumpy like, well, if they'd just done a good conversation to him, he would have changed. Also, it's a parallel universe. Like,
something could have
happened to that Thanos that made him more susceptible to change.
Made him more reasonable.
So, I mean, I don't want to do a kind of episode-by-episode breakdown of What If, but I think those first two are very, very different.
Mainly what I wanted to say before was that what I like about the Captain Carter one and the T'Challa one, and it's most of the other ones basically, is that it's at the beginning of the series anyway, it's its own concise story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the stories actually end, but when you get to, like, the zombie episode and after that, the stories don't really end. They just end on a cliffhanger, and it leaves you to fill in the gaps, and then they sort of pick up later on a little bit in the finale. But I quite liked how they were their own full stories that the Watcher was taking us through.
I agree that, I mean, I partially like some open-endedness. Like, there are some cliffhangers that I think are quite exciting. But when you kind of flash us this really cool concept, and sometimes things started to really get interesting when the credits rolled. Like, it's almost like, so the Killmonger episode where it's kind of building towards him being in power in Wakanda, and then when he gets there, that's it. It's the end of the episode. And you kind of wonder what was the point, I guess, because you show his process, and his process is entertaining and intriguing, but then once he's there, like, we don't see it.
Yeah.
And now that guy's dead. Like, spoiler alert, but like they he's in the he's not dead, but he's
not dead.
In a
He's
parallel
in, like,
universe,
like an orb thing.
How do you feel about the whole thing crossing over?
What is the
When the Watcher breaks his...
Guardians of the Multiverse thing? I think it's kind of cool. I think it's a little bit strange that, like, I get why they picked the characters that they did, because those are the main characters that we saw through the episodes. But why would you pick Killmonger? That Killmonger?
Because he's going to betray them. He saw that
exactly.
coming.
He doesn't even do anything, does he? In the fight against Ultron,
to be honest,
he literally just betrays them at the end.
I thought the whole fight was a little bit naff. I think.
The Watcher versus Ultron felt very Dragon Ball Z, where it's just punching each other, they go flying, they chase, and it's the same kind of thing over and over again until the Watcher decides, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore, because it's just the same thing over and over again.
And when it came to the actual finale battle, I guess I'm not sure I was expecting more, but I think I was more interested when they were talking.
Yeah.
However, when they were talking, I did get the sense that, like, most of these characters are only interesting in their, like, altered universes. Like, even, like, T'Challa, I think, as T'Challa Star-Lord, I think he's better when he's with the Ravagers, he's with his own gang, and he's in space. Yeah. You take him out of there, he's just kind of like...
He's just T'Challa when he's interacting with the other Avengers, basically.
I thought that was a bit of a shame, to kind of strip these parallel characters of what actually makes them intriguing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not angry that it wasn't an anthology. I think there were some people that were expecting kind of 9 completely standalone stories, and I don't mind them all folding in for a big crossover. However, I think I would have liked a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the action of the show, the animated action, was really good.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't care that much about when they're punching, which I know I should probably find a different series instead of
That's true.
Marvel.
I mean, Marvel fans only care about when people start punching.
It's true. They don't want that boring talking.
Yeah.
But I love the boring talking.
It's the best bit.
So they are doing a season 2.
It's the episodes that didn't get to finish, wasn't it? Because of...
I think so, yeah.
COVID.
I imagine that they will do...
They'll do some more stuff. Because, like, there's the Tony and Gamora episode that they have to do.
That's so weird that is in the finale.
Yeah, I know. And then they just chose to axe the entire episode.
It's really bizarre. I think I can see this going on for a while, because with every year there are like 5 more stories that they can what if.
Well, yeah. Exactly.
Like they said that in season 2 they'll be able to look at more Phase 4 things like Eternals and Black Widow, and I'm excited. I think still I am maybe a little bit underwhelmed by the series as a whole. Like, I enjoyed most episodes, but I was not wowed by many.
Yeah. I mean, the Doctor Strange one was probably my favourite one.
I was about to mention the Doctor Strange one as a really good one.
Yeah.
But, like, the ones that I didn't love were still really fun.
Yeah.
Like, Party Thor was fun.
That was fun, yeah.
Zombies was really fun. I know some people said that, like, them constantly cracking jokes kind of took away from it, but to me, the jokes were quite funny, so...
And also, if you were actually in a position where it's just you and a couple of your mates left in the world, and you would have to joke about it to cope with it, I think.
I think that's true. And I think, yeah, Spider-Man has that nice thing about that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
My favourite thing about this, I think... My favourite thing about the What If premise and the fact that the MCU has so many characters is that you can bring together these groups of remarkable people.
Very good.
You can bring together these ridiculous groups of characters that should never really be interacting. Like Kurt from Ant-Man joining the crew with Sharon Carter, Hope Van Dyne, Peter Parker.
Yeah.
It's like Happy Hogan.
Yeah,
and you can have them interact like Thanos and Nebula and T'Challa all being mates.
Yeah.
And Thor and Howard the Duck and Darcy.
Yeah, yes! And they go get married.
It's a bit like I'm going to bring it back to Star Wars because that is all I'm capable of.
Of course.
In Star Wars Infinities, something happens that means Han and Chewie have to take Luke to Dagobah.
Yes.
Yeah. And in doing so, Luke no, Han meets Yoda.
Yes,
and that is an
it'll be
interaction that
hilarious.
you never see, and it's so weird. What's really funny is that Yoda does his whole thing. He does his whole pretending he's a little frog man. And Han's like to Luke, hey, this guy's Yoda. Like, this guy's a fraud. Like, I see right 100%. Through this. And it's, I really like that. I really like seeing characters that should never, ever meet, have adventures together, and just talk to each other. Okay, so, I mean, I guess we've just spoken about Star Wars.
A little bit.
I'm going to move on to a section of the podcast that I have named the Star Wars section of the podcast. Do you like this?
It's a great name. It's good.
Yeah, I think it's really got staying power.
It's really
I
concise.
don't know how deep to go into Star Wars, because every week there is new content released in comics
there's
and
a
books
lot.
and, you know, and audio stories, and there will be TV shows soon. And I'm not sure how much people care, but we care a little bit.
A little bit.
So
enough to talk about it for 5 minutes.
I wanted to briefly touch on publishing, because there was some news a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah, your favourite character's getting a bit.
Yes. Well, let's look at all the stories. Okay, let's look at what was announced. For starters, Stories of Jedi and Sith. This is an anthology.
Isn't that like a little bit like the High Tales of Luke Skywalker book that they did?
I'm not sure.
Sort of like myths.
I'm not sure how it works within canon. I'm not sure that it is necessarily like myths and fables.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be. So we are getting a story about Rey, which is good. I like those.
That's pretty cool. When's that one set?
Well, the Rey one.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Okay.
We just know the characters. We're getting Obi-Wan, we're getting Anakin, we're getting Palpatine. Ventress is getting a story. Yoda is getting a story. And when was the last time Yoda had a kind of POV content? Was it like certain point of view? Like with that one story he had with where he was preparing for.
Was it Luke to
he wanted to train Leia?
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So I guess I'm really interested in how you do Yoda as a main character, and almost whether this will be Yoda as the main character or whether it'll just be a guy experiencing Yoda.
Because I want to know if it will be like. Have you seen that excerpt of the they did like a paragraph of the Austin Powers book where it's literally just how he speaks, but in his mind.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So it's like, so it's one of the scenes from the movies, and then it's just a line of basically says, and this was not groovy or something like that, just something stupid how he talks. And I wonder if it will be the same for Yoda, if it's his internal monologue will be exactly how he talks.
Oh god. Oh, whoever does the audiobook, Mark Thompson,
yes.
will just be doing his Yoda voice for the whole thing.
That would be great.
There's also a Luke one, fine. Maul, good.
That's
I like Maul.
Maul has some good stories.
Qui-Gon, always good
Excellent.
to get more Qui-Gon, especially written Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Vader and Barriss Offee, which is good.
That is good.
I don't know whether it will be kind of, because everyone has wondered what happened to Barriss post.
What happens to Barriss?
Clone Wars? Whether she becomes an Inquisitor, whether she dies, because
everyone was hoping she was going to be the seventh sister, right?
Yes, when she was Sarah Michelle Gellar's Rebels character, who was the same species as Barriss, but they decided not to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And it was like the same series where they introduced Ahsoka again, so they could have really easily put it in there just to put the stakes in a little bit.
That makes me think that like they have other stuff going on there, but it's like, I don't know, if you don't put Barriss in Rebels to face off against Ahsoka, like where do you put her?
Yeah.
Maybe in the Ahsoka show, maybe in like that.
The Ahsoka show set like after.
I mean, Ahsoka's stayed out of trouble.
Yeah, I know,
all that
but
time. Like,
Barriss is in Jedi jail, is she?
Yeah, she's in Jedi jail.
Yeah, so
that becomes,
Palpatine could have gone over and been like, "Oh, so you want to be a cool guy, or do you want to die?" And then she could have been like, "Well, whatever, man."
He's like, I'll keep you safe in here until 9 ABY.
Until they make a TV show where they will put you in it.
You want to be live action, don't you, Barriss? All right. So that's that story. That sounds interesting.
Sounds
that
pretty
collection.
Good.
I'm not usually big into that kind of short story thing, but there's every character that they're talking about is one that I'm interested in reading about.
It's an interesting character to do.
And then there's Padawan, which is a novel, a young adult novel, I believe, about little baby Obi-Wan as a Padawan. which I'm sure will be fine. It's pre Master and Apprentice, it's pre Satine.
Oh, okay.
I think it will just really be a generic kind of young Jedi story, but it happens to also be Obi-Wan. And then there's Brotherhood, which is an adult novel, not an adult novel.
That's the Business of Cato Nemoidia book, isn't it?
Yes, it is all about that business on Cato Nemoidia, and
that's good.
So I'm not sure it'll be canon because that bit famously doesn't count.
I hate you.
It's also about Anakin's rise to Jedi Knight, which is exciting. That's
kind of cool.
I'm really shocked that hasn't been touched in canon yet.
Yeah,
and I'm almost surprised that that's not being saved for a bigger event. But I'm happy to see that.
Good to
Interestingly,
see it anyway.
I think both of them are coming out in around May next year, which is interesting because that's when the Kenobi show is coming
series,
out.
yeah.
So it may be that they tie into each other, like specifically, content-wise, or just thematically with their relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then there's the final one, Shadow of the Sith.
Your favourite one.
I know you're really excited for this one because it's a lovely adventure between Luke and Lando.
Really good pairing. Something that we haven't really seen before. And it's so cool.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Oh, God.
Yeah, unfortunately, lots.
I think the first sentence of the synopsis ruins it completely.
So, it's about Luke and Lando on an adventure to maybe investigate the rise of Palpatine, the new rise of Palpatine, even though they never really find out about that.
They didn't know about it.
And so it's kind of like a story of a completely futile search.
It's pretty much just, these are some things that these characters do, but none of it pays off, and we know none of it pays off.
They are trying to find Ochi of Bestoon, something we know they don't. They are trying to save the young girl who is being chased by Ochi, Rey, which we know they don't. We know that he kills her parents and she gets sold. And
Lando's looking for his daughter, who he doesn't find.
And also, the whole Palpatine thing, we know they don't uncover that, especially not enough to do anything about it. So, to me, it just frustrates me because I am personally just trying to ignore that Rise of Skywalker ever happened. But because of what Rise of Skywalker was, and because of what Rise of Skywalker meant, it is impossible for the rest of canon to ignore Rise of Skywalker. Because it now requires so much retroactive establishing of these things, like the Sith Eternal, the Ochi stuff, cloning Palpatine. All of that stuff was completely pulled out of their arse for Rise of Skywalker. And now they have to now be like, oh no, that was being planned around the time of Empire Strikes Back. And I don't really hold it against any of these creators who now have to do that to get things to fit.
Because I was really into reading the Darth Vader comic. It was really good. And then because Ochi fights Vader on Mustafar and stuff, and they have really cool interactions. And then immediately after, Vader goes to Exegol and discovers literally everything that Palpatine had planned, which means that from that, they also have to explain that now. So they had to bend around backwards to not only explain that Vader did in fact know about Exegol, but now they had to deal with the repercussions of, by the time of episode 6, Vader knew that there was 1 billion ships on this planet with planet-killing weapons on the bottoms. He knew that Palpatine had plans to survive being killed, and somehow he threw him down a reactor shaft and was like, yeah, he's dead, that's fine. But it just ruins anything it touches, which I think something that you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I did a Twitter thing about this, and about how any time something touches Rise of Skywalker and it touches that narrative, I'm reminded of how hopeless that film feels to me. And the fact that that's quite an inescapable feeling now, because everything is now leading to Rise of Skywalker, either directly or indirectly. Even if it's something completely unrelated and it's in service of winning the Galactic Civil War, we know that then leads to the sequel trilogy, and that leads to Rise of Skywalker. So it's quite hard. And I see people it's been 2 years, why are you still going on about it? It's like, Because it's still
because
happening.
it keeps getting brought up.
It's not like, to be honest, the one Star Wars film that you can probably ignore and ignore all of its repercussions and consequences is The Last Jedi, because Star Wars is doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. You can't ignore Rise of Skywalker because every story is now setting up or following on from Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's Star Wars is in a frustrating place, and I'm going to appear on a podcast soon where I talk about whether or not I can think of ways of unbreaking Star Wars and distancing itself from Rise of Skywalker. But until then, let's talk about something that is good and that we like. Everyone's talking about the on-screen Star Wars, the Disney Plus release from the last few weeks. Terrifying Tales, Lego Star Wars.
That was actually, I loved that.
It's really funny.
I loved every minute of that.
I really liked
Genuinely.
it was
so good.
I didn't enjoy the holiday special last year. There was something about that I thought was slightly off.
Yeah,
like,
I thought they tried a little bit too hard to try and make it funny, but this one, it just feels like it's a bit more effortlessly, just the Lego kind of brand of humour. There
is a Star Wars What If, essentially, that features a fantastic gag of when it's Luke and Vader on the Death Star together.
I love that, yeah.
There's so much there that I really love, and it's sequel content and it's Poe content.
It's the best Knights of Ren story that we've gotten in canon.
It's Ben Solo getting acknowledged, and almost acknowledged as a victim as well, which is nice because so many people seem obsessed with pretending that Ben Solo, as like an 8-year-old, was like, I'm going to be evil now for the rest of my life, and not that he was just groomed and manipulated. So I really like this, but we're not really here to talk about that. Star Wars Visions.
Yes.
Another kind of Star Wars anthology. I was really excited for this. I made my video back in May about why the Star Wars slate was not appealing to me.
Yeah.
And I said that like there were one or two things on the upcoming release schedule that really did tick the boxes of new and inventive and diverse creative voices, and Visions was one of them.
Yeah.
So I think we should just go through all of the stories because they're all so different, and to just talk about what we like about them, talk about how we feel about them, and then maybe I'll do a ranking at the end because I know everyone's been dying to hear my opinion on which stories I love.
No, you just want an excuse to do a tier list is what you want.
It's just in order. They're all pretty much like A tier or above. There are a few that I don't love, but let's start with The Duel because that was the first one. What do you think of it? That's the kind of very Kurosawa kind of inspired
kind of guts. I loved the idea that everything is in grayscale.
Yes.
Except for the lightsabers and the lights.
And a few of the lights and the kyber crystal. And
exactly.
It's probably the most distinct visual style of all of them.
I think
it's
so.
a really good introduction to Star Wars Visions as a concept. Because it's not very dialogue heavy. It's very kind of easy to understand. It's full of cool imagery. It's just quite hard to fault. Like... I think I was left wanting a little bit more from it, but maybe that's because I just went in with quite high expectations because I was so excited for Visions. So it's about Ronan, this very intriguing guy. Did you know that he was going to have a red lightsaber? Because that was in all the promotion, but I had no idea. Like,
I had no idea.
Since then, I've seen so much stuff that I could have seen, or I either saw and then forgot. But when I thought he was a Jedi, I thought he was going to pull out a blue lightsaber and go up against the
blue or green lightsaber and just be cool.
And he pulls out his thing from his lightsaber sheath, and it's a big plot twist. It's a red lightsaber. It's really cool. I think
it's a good moment.
It leaves you wanting to know more about him, and there's a lot of intrigue about him because he's very mysterious. But I think maybe I was like slightly left just a little unsatisfied because I think, there's only so much you can do in 12 minutes. And I don't have a huge amount to complain about, but I think maybe I just would have loved to have seen slightly more from this guy and this world. Maybe that's not a bad thing at all. Like, I think maybe that's because he was so stylish and it looked so cool that I could have watched it forever.
And Umbrella lightsaber was pretty cool.
Hat droid as well.
Hat droid, that was good.
There was a probe droid. Was it a Doug driving a probe droid?
Yeah, it was. That was awesome.
There was a another droid I have. What does he look like? It's like an Imperial Protocol droid. You know, the black one with the kind of bug eyes, that with like a minigun. And
yes,
when his friend dies, he's like, "No!" And it's like, that's a droid. Like, it's so cool.
It's that juxtaposition of when there was that there was a leaked poster of Tross where C-3PO had like the bowcaster.
Yes, and everyone thought it would be like that.
C-3PO's gonna go mental in this one. It's that kind of thing that we all want to see at some point.
Just like
and we finally got something.
Thank you, Star Wars Visions, for
Thank
finally
you, Star Wars
delivering
Visions, for doing that.
Droid with a big gun. So, Tatooine Rhapsody was the second one. I will say that I watched these for the first time in English, and then I've rewatched them all in Japanese. You've only seen them in Japanese?
I watched them only in Japanese, yeah.
So, I think Tatooine Rhapsody may be the most different.
It's so different straight away from the art style, and also just the tone of it. Because in the duel, it's all very serious and gritty. But in Tatooine Rhapsody, it's all quite light-hearted. It's literally just a group of kids in a band.
It's cute. It is
cute.
Nice. I think they were pretty immediately endearing. Their music was pretty fun and not something that we'd really heard in Star Wars before. I don't think I would listen to it, on Spotify.
Oh no! But
it was fine, and it's not my favourite story of Visions at all, but it was cute. I think I maybe found it a little bit more annoying in English. I think the main character is voiced by Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the English version.
Oh, really?
Which is really weird. He doesn't really sound like him, but nice to have him back in Star Wars after his Last Jedi cameo. What else is in this? I guess it's the one with the most familiar characters. Is that true?
It is. You've got Bib Fortuna. You've got Jabba the Hutt. Is Gardula the Hutt in this one?
No, you're thinking of Lego Star Wars.
I'm thinking of literally episode 1 when they're in the same space.
Oh, right.
In the pod racing area.
That looked so cool. The pod racing thing, that establishing shot they have of literally, the 3D environment.
Bunta Eve and recreated. In anime. Good. That was super cool.
Boba Fett is in it as well. In the English version, he is voiced by Temuera Morrison.
Of course.
And I think this reminded me that Boba Fett is really cool. Boba Fett fans are really annoying. And
because they were, oh no, they made Boba Fett chibi. He can't be cool like that. But he is. He's really cool.
They get annoyed every time Boba Fett is in anything because he's not murdering people with bloody gore every time. And it's like, that makes me hate Boba because I hate what they want him to be. And then I see what Boba actually is and I'm like, yeah, this guy's pretty cool. There's this one really cute bit where they're playing and it shows everyone vibing and Boba's vibing and Jabba's wiggling his tail. And then it cuts across to everyone across Tatooine watching it on their little screens. And then it cuts to Obi-Wan Kenobi's house. And I really like the idea of whenever this is set, just maybe Obi-Wan's just gone into exile. And he's his first day on Tatooine and he's just vibing to this band. I
would love if there's a scene in the Kenobi series where he's just sitting down watching a concert on his iPad.
I thought they should have had a reaction shot of Bosk because do you remember in Duel of the Fates? Do you know much about Colin Trevorrow's episode 9?
A little bit.
In Colin Trevorrow's episode 9, there is a bit where the Force beacon goes out, right, and it is inspiring everyone to rise up against the First Order, and it's good.
Yeah.
And it's it shows everyone in the script. It's everyone across the galaxy is reacting to it. Bosk is there.
Bosk is there. I do remember that line.
It's even Bosk has a cameo. I just thought that would be nice to pay homage to a non-existent Star Wars movie. But okay, we've talked about this for too long. Yeah. The twins.
That was fun.
The third one. It's pretty good. I think there is some weird stuff in it that bogs it down a bit because I think of the first 3, there were visuals in it that I really loved, maybe more than the first 2.
Yeah.
And I was kind of blown away by that, and especially the visual parallels to the sequel trilogy. Yeah. And especially The Last Jedi. We have a Holdo maneuver, we have...
Yeah, with a gigantic lightsaber. That was cool.
There's a Force tug of war, there's kind of all that. But then it is a bit bogged down by just what I don't like about Rise of Skywalker, which is just the constant, like, we were made by the dark side, cloned by the dark side.
That kind of thing.
Secrets, only the Sith knew.
Yeah. It's also kind of like the setting is also a little bit, lends itself to not be as well interpreted as the others. So, because it's just set on like these two Star Destroyers that are connected in the middle.
Yeah.
So it can only be a Star Destroyer interior, which means it doesn't have any character because it's not meant to.
Yeah, I agree. I think also like the voice acting is rough on that one in the English version.
Oh, is it?
It is Neil Patrick Harris and Alison Brie, who are both great. But Alison Brie sounds like Unikitty from the Lego movie when she gets angry, which is really funny, but it doesn't quite work for what they're going for. But I don't hate it, but I think there's a lot of explaining who they are and what they're doing, and not really to any end. Like, it's a bizarre thing, and it kind of ends on like, I'll find out the key to why we were created, and it's like you've just been telling us all, like all episodes why you were created. It was all for this. I guess what's interesting about this one is that it is probably the closest to like a what if. It's the closest to a completely non-canon story. Because it's almost like a play on Luke and Leia, those twins. Yeah. It's like a dark side version of them.
I mean, well, yeah, the boy does look quite a bit like
Yeah, and he flies his X-Wing.
He
and
also goes to Tatooine at the end.
So it's I guess it's maybe I'm forgetting one, but a lot of these are not officially canon, but they don't necessarily contradict anything. Whereas this one, they exist in a bizarre world where, like, they were born out of the dark side.
Yeah.
The Galactic Republic and the Empire exist at the same time. So it's cool.
Yeah.
I think planet-destroying Star Destroyer as a
little bit
threat.
Old, a little bit of a worn topic to use.
But it was all right. I think
this was pretty good episode. You've got lightsaber
whips. She's got Grievous arms.
She does.
There's a lot about their armor. There's a lot about kyber crystal energy armor.
Yeah.
And it's but like there's cool stuff, and I think there's enough cool stuff for me not to really care about all the nonsense that they're spouting all the time.
Yeah.
And then there's episode 4, The Village Bride, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't know, how do you feel about this one?
I really liked it. I thought it was a really interesting idea of this Jedi looking over these traditions that this tribe has that they've never seen before, and there's also another traveller there who is also kind of like an insert the characters, except he knows what's going on, kind of thing. And then towards the end, she decides, she needs to intervene because these baddies are mean.
I really like that the kind of
awesome.
The Lord Buckethead guy is very much trying to get her to intervene without saying it, and she's like, I know what you're doing, but it works anyway. Exactly. I just thought this was probably like the most pure Star Wars just joy. Like, it's pretty much unlike anything we've seen before, but at the same time feels so right within the universe.
It's very Star Wars because it's like the Jedi saying, oh no, we can't intervene, but then the Jedi comes in and saves the day, and it's awesome. And everyone's happy. It's that kind of like Star Wars thing that everyone just loves watching.
It was really great. Like it's one of the most beautiful, I think, of the 9 stories. Like the landscapes and the nature and the music. And I think at the start, when we're finding out what's happening with this tribe and with the bride and what's going to happen to her, there's just a lot of sadness, even when we're not quite sure what's going on. Like that stuff at the start where he's lifting her up the mountain. There is a sadness to that we don't know why yet.
It's like they leave it vague and like right until the end. And it's great that they did that.
And I think despite the fact that until the very end, like there's very little Star Wars stuff. At the end, there's battle droids and a lightsaber. But for the most part, surface level wise, it is really un-Star Wars. And that almost makes it feel the most Star Wars. The emotional core is so strong. And she is such her name is F. And she is such a compelling lead. And I just want to see more from her.
She's
and
fantastic.
Not in a way that like I was left unsatisfied with this, but more that I just think she's so cool. And she's got that lightsaber at the end with the kind of, it's like a katana.
Yeah, that was cool.
And she slices the guy. in the English version, Matthew Wood does the voice of the battle droids.
Of course he does, yeah.
I think that almost takes away from it. I think
really
suddenly hearing kind of, hey, who are you? Kind of like hearing that
it's
Star
like,
Wars.
oh, this is Star Wars.
Yeah. I think hearing that almost ruins the magic a little bit. Whereas watching it in Japanese, it almost just sounds like generic robot, which is almost what they need to be.
It's not really relatable to Matthew Wood's brand of B1 battle droids.
Although in the English version, I told you this before, but Christopher Sean is in it as the groom. He played Kaz in Star Wars Resistance, which is really funny because, like, in a lot of these, there are actors who have been in Star Wars before, but none that are just doing their voice that they have already done in a Star Wars animation. But that's just fun. So that was the fourth one, and I think it's just fantastic. And then it moves on to the fifth one, which I think is just as good, if not better, The Ninth Jedi.
I love The Ninth Jedi. That was really good.
It's perfection.
It's fantastic.
Like, the visuals are pretty breathtaking for a lot of the time. It is just a really engaging and intriguing story.
The setting is really good.
Yeah.
Like you've got the asteroid base, which is always a good vibe.
Absolutely.
You've got the forge on the planet side.
You've got the big cranes grabbing the kyber crystal parts of the ring into the atmosphere, which is just so cool. We see that from two different angles, and it's just, there's so much going on there. There's so much thought put into that environment. Not that there isn't in other ones, but this feels like a really well-rounded and well-realized Star Wars planet that's not like Tatooine, and it's not because the lovely Village Bride one is just a lovely, very Asian inspired like environment, but it's not, we don't see a lot of technology or whatever, whereas this one, it has the droids, it has the ships.
It's very Star Wars in respect of how their worlds are built, so that it's just packed of stuff all over the place constantly.
And we get a sense of how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
This as a setup, like thousands of years after anything we know, I think it's meant to be like years after, like she's grown up, Cara has grown up with stories of the Jedi, stories of Luke Skywalker, stories of Rey, and to have that as a setup, and that the Jedi are extinct, but someone is trying to revive them, but the Sith are involved, and I think that's so great, and it would have been, in another universe, people have said this, a great setup for a reboot of Star Wars, to be completely from scratch. Like, this is almost an alternate episode 7. Like, they could have done this, and it feels like a whole movie. Like, I don't know how they did it. I mean, it's longer than some of the episodes, but I think a bit like some of the best What If episodes, they've managed to fit so much content into this story and into this world and flesh out these characters. Like, Cara is so lovely. She's very like Rey. Her dad is lovely as well. In the English version, he's played by Simu Liu.
No way.
Yeah, and he's lovely. And I thought that he would die, but he was actually just taken off and they can rescue him. And this is the one that I would just really like to see a follow-up from.
Yeah, definitely. Because it also kind of feels like that, I'm told this is how people felt when they watched A New Hope for the first time in 77. Whereas like they felt like, oh, anyone can be a Jedi kind of thing because of how Obi-Wan describes it to Luke in The Falcon. And it's that moment when she picks up the lightsaber and it doesn't quite grow fully, and then when she's with all the other Jedi and it becomes a full lightsaber, it's like, oh, anyone can be that.
That is so good. Color changing lightsabers.
That was amazing.
Such a great idea.
It's
like,
so cool.
I cannot believe they have not done it sooner.
Yeah.
It needs to be brought into canon because for visual storytelling, it is incredible. When they all ignite their lightsabers and it turns out they glow red.
They're all baddies,
and when that one guy starts to go purple and then returns to blue, like, I think it's so cool. And they just I think the Margrave has like a halo lightsaber with like a ring around it, and that's really there's cool. Just so much here that you would just love to see expanded and continued and built upon.
Because the amount they've hammered in recently with canon material is that the Jedi and the Kyber crystal are what's linked, and so the bond between it is what gives the Kyber crystal its color and that kind of thing. And they've said that loads of times, but they've never actually done it so if a baddie picks up someone else's lightsaber, it just is red.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing that is very basic, and it's almost like what a child would imagine lightsabers to work as.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That is
it's a really simple idea, but it's so effective.
It's a simple idea that, if used like they're used here, like, it can be fantastic for storytelling and to show the inner, like, force conflict of a character on screen. Because that's something that is hard to do on screen without trippy force visuals, without Clone Wars Mortis dream sequence.
Because you've just got, Anakin's got yellow eyes in this scene. So
yeah, exactly.
Doing bad things.
Any way of kind of externalizing an internal struggle is great, and this is a great way to do it. That final shot where the Kyber crystal temple thing in the asteroid shoots the beam out, and then it flips the camera around and it becomes a lightsaber in itself.
Yeah,
gorgeous
really cool.
Star Wars.
I love
10
that.
out of 10. Great Star Wars. Definitely the best Star Wars of the year, I think. Okay, TOB1. How'd you feel?
Toby, I liked this one a lot. I got Eno Cordova from the Fallen Order game.
Yes.
Yes, I got him vibes from the Master.
Yes,
or the old
he
guy.
is so lovely.
He's such a nice guy. It was really nice because the animation style really goes well with just the barren wasteland of what that planet is. And when they start incorporating nature into it, so that's what they're doing, they're trying to recreate life on this dead world. And once they do that, suddenly everything changes. The way you look at how everything's drawn and animated, it's amazing. It's fantastic.
It's really funny to me that this is like a cute story about a little droid who dreams of being a Jedi, and then at the end it happens to have like some of the sickest action of the whole anthology.
Actually really good. An Inquisitor comes down, they have an amazing fight.
There's not a huge amount I have to say about this one, but that's mostly because I don't have anything negative to say. Like, there's nothing I can fault it for what it's doing. It's like the same way that the Twins was a play on like Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
This is almost like the story of Luke, but slightly different.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a hero's journey, which is in turn Luke's journey, and to then have that on a desert planet with two suns.
Yeah.
It's great. This is one that has kind of stuck with me more than I expected it to.
Yeah.
Because I just saw it as the cute droid one.
Yeah.
I didn't think...
Because you've got loads of other really cute droids in it as well. And they just act
lovely.
like a proper family, and it's so nice.
Droids in general in Star Wars Visions are great. Like
So good.
It feels like every time that one of these filmmakers and studios, they were like, okay, we need to have a droid.
Yeah, literally like in The Ninth Jedi with the droid who pilots the ship up. And he's like, no, I'm on my break. Kind of.
It's like all of these droids have become iconic, and like most of them have like a little companion droid, most of the lead characters in these stories, and why shouldn't they?
I mean, everyone has a little companion droid in Star Wars. It's not Star Wars without it.
I think the idea that a droid can become a Jedi is one that I really like.
I mean, people have been talking about it since R5 in A New Hope, haven't they?
Yes, but that was a joke.
That was a joke.
To be honest, the idea of like an astromech droid having the Force is silly to me. But you look at TOB1, you look at C-3PO, they're like people. They're like droid sentience is an interesting topic in Star Wars, and it's one that I hope they keep kind of diving into.
Definitely, yeah.
Look at L3. Like, I can imagine L3 getting into some kind of spirituality with
yeah, absolutely.
if that was her bag. But I think that there's nothing really negative to say about
no, it's just really cute and really fun.
Next up is The Elder, which is another one that I really liked. It's got a pretty distinct art style again, like and I guess era-wise it's another interesting one because we're not quite sure when it's set. They kind of look like High Republic Jedi, but
I was thinking it could be quite High Republic-y.
But almost before, because they talk about the Sith being, wiped out hundreds of years ago, and I'm not sure if it was like 800 years ago. I don't think I would say hundreds of years ago. That feels a bit too long. Like, I'm almost thinking like it's early New Republic, not New Republic, but you know what I mean. This is one, like, it starts with just a conversation, and there's actually not a huge amount of just talking in these stories, and it's one where I actually think the English dub well, at least for me as an English person, it works and it is better.
Yeah.
Not least because David Harbour voices the Master. And he brings this incredible like humor and gravitas to this character, and becomes just essentially through how cool he speaks. But one of my favorite Jedi. He's very Qui-Gon. He's very reserved, and I watched it in English first, and then Japanese, and then back to English.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would have got that sense with the Japanese original thing, just because I don't speak Japanese and I'm less able to pick up on the vocal nuances. And I also think it lends itself to the translation quite well, because you're not having to match the timing of speaking to certain action beats when they're written for Japanese. The rest of the story, they go to this planet and they find this ancient warrior who it turns out might be even more ancient than he even seems, because when he dies he just crumbles to dust. I love the idea that he's too angry to die.
It's very KOTOR, that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but he's got a lovely relationship with his apprentice.
Yeah.
And lightsabers look really good in this.
Yeah.
They're like solid color instead of like with the, a lot of them they're white with the color as the edges.
Yeah.
But this is like solid blue, solid green, solid red. Is there anything else to say about this? How did you feel about it?
I don't know. I just thought it was really fun and interesting, because you've got like the cocky kid who who's craving adventure, and you've got the Master who has had all of the adventure and just wants to go and explore some quiet tribe places.
Yeah.
And then you've got the fight with the Elder, and you think that the apprentice has been killed by him, and then it's after the fight and you realise he's just got a slight light graze.
A lightsaber graze from two lightsabers to the chest.
Exactly, yeah. And then he's still a little bit in awe of it. He's like, whoa, you defeated that old dude. He was crazy. And then the Master is like, oh, if he was younger, he would have killed the shit out of me.
That wisdom is so cool when he's like, I don't think I really did defeat him. I think time was what defeated him.
Yeah, exactly.
As it defeats us all. I was like, this is Star Wars, man. This is so good. It's a very simple story, but it's executed like perfectly. There's not a huge amount I would point to and say they should do better. And then there's Lop and Ocho, the one that we all saw in the promotional material and called like the rabbit furry girl.
The rabbit one, yeah.
And turns out I loved this.
It was good, wasn't it?
The setting is really cool. It's really beautiful in the nature, and there's this opening montage with the narration that talks about its relationship with the Empire and how they kind of struggled to advance technologically, so they actually accepted the oppression of the Empire
as a necessary evil to progress, which was a really cool, neat idea that they decided to go for.
Yeah,
because usually it's just, the Empire came in and took away our freedoms, and that was that.
Yeah, and I think politics of Star Wars and imperial oppression, that's not something I expected Star Wars Visions to tackle. Well, yeah, but I'm really glad it did. Because it's like in 10 minutes, they were able to tell quite an interesting story about the relationship that these planets have with the Empire.
Yeah, and they gave a really compelling argument for both sides of the same coin as well.
And, it's done within one family where one is willing to accept Imperial rule, and the father, he's very Saw Gerrera-y, I guess, in his rebellion. And I think he's quite based. I
was wondering how long it would take you to say based.
I mean, I don't throw it around too much, but I think their dad was pretty based.
He deserves it.
And the main rabbit girl was lovely. In the English dub, she reminded me a lot of Rose Tico. I don't know who voiced her in the English one, but she was so just kind of unapologetically kind and just wanted everyone to be happy. And I know kindness is a big part of Star Wars, but you rarely get characters that are just, their main defining characteristic is that they are really nice. And Omega is one. and Rose Tico is another, and Lop now is a third. And I think her relationship with the father, and it's her adopted father, and the dynamic they have, it's really lovely to have this kind of element. And in the end, like, he passes on the family heirloom to her, his actual biological daughter, but someone who he believes embodies the family a lot better than his Nazi daughter.
It's fun to see as well at the beginning. Like, he's reluctant to bring her into the family, but his daughter is all for it, or refers to her as sister straight away. And then at the end of the episode, it's sort of that thing of like absolute power corrupts absolutely, where the daughter is now furious because she didn't get the lightsaber and it's her, and she's not even part of the family, and she's using that against.
It's a bit like Knives Out, when everyone tells Marta she's part of the family.
Yeah,
and then as soon as Marta wins, they're like, well, she's not one of us.
She's not even part of the family. Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of that. The action at the end was really stylized and nice. Like,
really cool.
The backgrounds kind of vanished as they were colliding. They have this lightsaber. I usually hate the value placed in lightsabers. This weapon is your life is just really annoying to me, because it's just like, it's just a weapon, it's just a sword. But I think in this one case, having it as this heirloom passed down from this ancient Jedi that visited them.
It's got that connection, because it's like, oh, he died protecting our village, and we look after it in memory of him.
I think it's really good. Is there anything else to say about it? I think this is the case for a lot of them, because every single story that could possibly feature a Star Destroyer does feature a Star Destroyer, because I guess people like animating them, but there are so many shots of the environment, and there's just this Star Destroyer hanging in the atmosphere.
It's a cool visual to have.
They look good in whatever art style they put them
really
in the Star
do,
Destroyer. Like, in The Twins, it looks great. In Toby, in TOB1, there's I think a Star Destroyer in that one, very briefly, but they took the opportunity. So yeah, hard to fault Lop and Ocho. And then the final one, Akakiri, I believe.
This is the only one I didn't like, I think.
Me too.
Okay, good.
I'm glad. I saw someone on Twitter say people are sleeping on this one, and I don't like it. It is definitely the weakest.
I think so. It's that whole thing of Star Wars does this a lot, where Jedi have visions, and then someone, like typically an elder Jedi, says to them, "Oh, well, it could literally mean anything, because you're only seeing part of what you want to see. You're not seeing the whole picture of the vision." And he sees this vision of he kills someone and becomes bad, and at the end of the episode he kills her and he becomes bad. So I don't really because he was trying to stop that from happening, but him acting on it makes it happen. And it's just that whole thing of, well, is there free will anyway?
I don't get what they're going for with that vision stuff, because he's not really, like, throughout the episode, he's not really, like, actively trying to prevent it happening, because he doesn't know that it's bad. Like, he doesn't know who he's killing, and it turns out it's the person that he loves, we think. And this is another thing, like, it's like a romance. It's like a forbidden romance, which I love in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But we don't know that that's the case until, like, at least halfway through.
Yeah.
Like, they have that flashback of the two of them when they're young.
Yeah.
And that is, like, the first time that I have anything to care about for these characters. But we've had most of the story by then. Yeah. And that's the issue, because we spend, like, 7 minutes or so with these characters that we don't really like. I mean, I like the two guides. I like the two funny people that sang on the little camels.
Yeah, that was really
and
cool.
there are some visuals that I do like as they're doing their journey to the palace. It cycles through a few different environments.
Yeah.
And I think that some of them look gorgeous and it looks great. But on the whole, this is just pretty dull.
Yeah.
And it's got a sad ending as well. And I mean, I'm happy to have sad endings. I'm not, a baby. But at the same time, it might have been nice to end Star Wars Visions on a hopeful note as an anthology.
It feels kind of weird as well, because he's accidentally stabbed her. He doesn't have to be evil after that.
No. And then he is to save her. And then,
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, well, I saved you because she was my master, and now I've just got to be with her now.
Well, see you later.
I don't like it, and it's a shame because, like, I look at The Village Bride as, you know, that's got a lovely, hopeful ending. The Ninth Jedi is fantastically open-ended, and it ends on that gorgeous, like, lightsaber shot. But we end on Akakiri, like, the weakest of all of them, with a kind of... It's not even like an overtly tragic ending, because it's like he doesn't permanently kill her, but at the same time he goes evil and flies off, and it's like, what's the point? Although, at the end, when everything is red, it does look pretty cool.
That does. We, as Last Jedi fans, that was pretty cool.
I like red. I like when Star Wars is red. So that's Star Wars Visions, I guess. It's kind of the exact project that I was hoping for when I saw the kind of sameness of all those Mandalorian spin-offs and, you know, Rise of Skywalker and Luke Skywalker showing up in Mandalorian and just like all of that. And it's like, this is all ticking the same Star Wars boxes, and I want to branch out and look at what Star Wars can be when it's not this exact thing. And in like the best way, you can kind of forget that Star Wars Visions is Star Wars. And not in like it doesn't even feel like Star Wars, but in a way that you're so swept up in the individual worlds and the characters that it's not just constantly being like, hey, remember Darth Vader? Hey, do you remember Luke Skywalker? It's like, no, you are invested in Lop and Ocho and Toby and F and Kara, and then suddenly a familiar like Star Wars sound effect or design will show up, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is Star Wars. And I think that is almost Star Wars at its best.
And you're not worried that there's an ominous Palpatine shaped figure lurking in the background. He's going to appear at some point.
That's very true. And they work in Star Wars musically. They work in like inspired Star Wars music. Like there's no proper returning themes. Like I rewatched it and I wanted to make sure that there was nothing that was overtly like the Force theme, and there isn't. It's all just like, it feels like it. There's a lot of nice Imperial motifs based on, you know, Imperial March with the drums, or the even the Rogue One Empire theme has some representation in Lopanochi. Not Ochi, Ocho. Or oh god, that would be a very different story. But like, it's not exactly that. It's like lifted from it and inspired by it, and that's how it is across the board. Like Kara has, when in Kara's introduction, when she's riding the speeder, it sounds almost like Rey's theme because it's a very similar introduction. Yeah, and I really like that, and I really like that it's that attitude across all of the storytelling. You've got these characters saying like Star Wars quotes in their own way. Like, I mean, obviously there's always I've got a bad feeling about this.
But and you've got your May the Force be with yous.
You've got that as well. But you've got like in the twins, the boy twin goes to his droid. It's like, well, it's like you always say, there is no try. It's just do or do not. It's like, oh, you know, it's nice to work in these themes and these specific quotes, but not like my old pal Yoda always said. It's nice to kind of own these. It just feels
really natural for it to be there.
And Professor Mitaka from the TOB1, he's like, adventure, excitement, being a Jedi isn't all of that. And I'm like, I know that. I know that from Star Wars. But it's not like that. It's not, hey, remember Empire Strikes Back. It is just a good thing to work in character. We get some wonderful droids. We get some wonderful lightsabers. Like, is it every time we see a lightsaber, there is a new lightsaber gimmick? And I don't mean this in a bad way. Whether it's color changing Halo, there's like words or like some text on the blade itself in Lopanocho. There's the lightsaber whip. There is the kind of katana blade. There's and I really like this. I like seeing familiar Star Wars things in new styles and new interpretations of them. And then we get brand new things inspired by Japanese culture, but put into a Star Wars style, I guess. So like Hat Droid is just, it's so cool to see. So I love Visions. It is something that I'm so glad exists, and I'm so glad that Disney let it exist.
Me too.
It really shouldn't. Like, it really doesn't makes sense in line with how Disney have approached Star Wars in other areas.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it came from Kathleen Kennedy herself. She was the one pushing for this project.
Oh, good.
Because I think she wanted this diversity in storytellers, but I wish she would take that and put it in
everywhere
main
else.
Star Wars. And maybe it's because there are higher up voices, powers that be at Disney that want the safe bet, but I would really like if this set a new precedent for creativity in Star Wars. We've already spent too much time talking about Star Wars Visions, so I won't do my ranking now.
Okay.
Check Twitter, I'll probably put one up there. So I guess that's all I have to say about Star Wars Visions. That's the end of the Star Wars section of the podcast.
Oh, thank God.
So now we're going to be talking about 15 different new films that have come out in cinemas. No. I was just going to briefly touch on some of the other things we've been watching. I listened to another podcast where they do this, but I'm hoping not to copy them entirely. But is there anything that you've seen recently that has come out recently that you would like to just mention?
Yeah, I'll mention, I mean, everyone's been talking about it, so I guess it's not really anything new per se, but Squid Game, I've seen the first episode. It's fucking good.
Is it?
It is good. Don't watch it in English is the only thing that I would say. Everyone I've spoken to in real life has said that they've watched it in English and it sucked. To which I responded, why didn't you just switch to Korean? And they went, oh, because I didn't want to read the subtitles.
Cringe.
So, which is the worst reason I could think of. But yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's good.
Is it as good as people say?
Is it? Well, I'm not sure because I've only seen the first episode. It's a really strong opening. It's a good start.
That's good because often you're told give it a couple of episodes. You know.
Oh yeah, no. Instantly, it's good. You don't have to watch 4 out of 9 episodes to think this is getting good.
That might be something I investigate then. I have been wasting all my time watching Modern Family, which makes me an idiot because I don't have any time to watch actual good stuff or like make content, because I'm not going to make a Modern Family video essay, but I stupidly started watching the first episode with my girlfriend a few weeks ago, and now I'm just like, well, I've got to finish it, and it's like 11 seasons. So I watched all the Daniel Craig Bond films, some of them for the first time, and I watched No Time to Die as well.
Nice.
You haven't seen that,
not
so
yet.
I won't
No.
spoil that, but I think it's really good, and to be honest, I feel overall positively about all 5 of the James Bond films. Like Quantum of Solace is a mess, but I like it overall. Like it's maybe only like a 6 out of 10, but that's more than 5. And Spectre as well, I like the good parts of it. So and No Time to Die is better than Spectre. It's better than Quantum of Solace. It is more in line with Casino Royale and Skyfall.
Oh, cool.
Even though it is very kind of Spectre heavy in the kind of elements set up.
It kind of has to be.
Yeah. So, yeah, what else have I watched? I watched Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds GTA style
it's
movie.
On Disney Plus, isn't it?
For some reason, I don't know why, they put it free on Disney Plus while it's still in cinemas. Like, not even Premier Access. Like, you can go to the cinema now, like where I live, and see it like multiple times in the day and pay money to see it, or you can just go on Disney Plus and it's right there. I thought it was fine.
Just fine.
I wasn't expecting much. I don't love Ryan Reynolds, but it's very Matrix, it's very Lego Movie, it's very Truman Show, Groundhog Day. It's like it's not doing anything new except perhaps the video game element. Like I think it does understand games better than most films about games. And that's maybe because it's not like a direct adaptation of anything in particular. Like, if it gets something wrong, that can just be what this game is. However, whenever like an actor like Jodie Comer or Taika Waititi says like trolling or noobs, I'm just like, oh god, oh god, please shut up. Other than that, it's fine. I'm not sure I'd recommend it unless you just want to switch your brain off. And I think I watched it after writing something or editing something, and I really needed to just switch off my head and just let something wash over me. So if you're into something like that, check out Free Guy.
I might because Pokimane and Jacksepticeye are in it, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're great.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's a cameo role.
Yeah.
Ninja's in it as well.
Oh, of course he is.
Ryan Reynolds is there and he goes, "The fuck you sent me!" So yeah, I think that is all we have time for today on diving into why, which I say that like we've not dived into lots of whys today. I think we've covered a lot of things. Next month, because we're uploading monthly so far, we will be looking at a few other things. There will have been a Marvel movie by then, maybe. We'll look at whatever Doctor Who has come out or hasn't come out.
Oh, yeah.
We're not getting Book of Boba Fett until the end of December. I don't think Hawkeye will have started either. Okay, we're just wasting time in the first episode planning the second. But yeah, thank you for listening, if anyone still is. I think we've slowly got the hang of it over this thing. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave us a comment and, let us know your thoughts on anything that we've spoken about today. What's your personal Star Wars Visions ranking? Would be lovely to hear. I've seen so many different varied ones. I'd love to find out if anyone enjoyed the 9th one, because I did not. Follow me on Twitter, at Joe Brennan. I feel like if you're listening to this, you probably know where to find me, but links are in the description. If you're checking this out on YouTube, but you'd like to follow us on something like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we are there as well. I've got a link at the bottom with all the platforms that we're on, because we are on anything. I guess that's it. We'll see you in a month. I will see you in 2 weeks, because I've got a video coming out then. Ooh. And Tom, you've got to go back in your box now for 4 weeks.
That's fine.
It's been lovely having you on as my co-host.
Oh, thanks, man. I've had a good time.
I hope the fans like you.
Of course they will.
If you like Tom, tweet me and say @JoeBrennan, I like Tom.
And I won't see it, but that's okay.
I'll send him all the mean things you say about him and block anyone who says positive things about him. So, all right, we will see you soon. Thank you very much for diving into why, and I'll see you next time.
Love you lots.
Oh, that's good. Love you lots.